Hello and welcome to the journal. Today we are standing atop a mountain that didn't exist until one man decided it should. This is the Herodium, a desert fortress, a lavish palace, and what many believe to be the final resting place of one of the most powerful and most controversial kings in Jewish history, Herod the Great. Built in the Judean hills, the Herodium is a testament to Herod's ambition, brilliance, and obsession with legacy. This is the story of King Herod.
So we're going to step in, and the second we step into the palace area, right away there's a grate over here that covers an opening in the floor that goes down to one upper cistern. So down below there was a cistern that gathered water from the runoff of the whole mountain. And then they could lower a bucket here and bring up water from the cistern. When we leave the mountain, we're going to go down these stairs. And these stairs go through that cistern that we were just looking at, and we'll be in the upper cistern. And then we'll walk down to the three lower cisterns, and we'll exit through that archway I pointed at. So let's have a look. Just the big picture of what we have here. First of all, there is signage, and we'll pay attention. But the big picture from Herodian times, this is the peristyle garden. This was open to the sky, if you remember the model. The other side was covered, it was a one story, and maybe there was another story on top of it. So this was an open garden. In the corner over here, the north corner, was the Roman bath, like you're familiar with from Masada. In the middle were rooms for family and friends. In a later era, in the 4th to 9th centuries, in the Byzantine Christian era, monks settled here, built 2 or 3 churches and a monastery, and there's one chapel right up over here. And at the end, covered by the canopy roof, this was Herod's triclinium, his dining room. In the rebels' time, it was used as a synagogue. I may end up repeating myself a little bit, but for the sake of clarity, I want to remind you that the corridor that we saw at the entrance when we came in is a corridor that went all the way around the mountain through the 3 north, west, and southern towers. But when the corridors meet the eastern tower, they stop. It's solid. And so the archaeologists believe that this was here, that this was a Hasmonean watchtower. And that's a possibility, not sure. But from the writings of Josephus, we know that this was the tallest one, and that the top of it had the place for observation deck. And if Herod was here, this would be his penthouse. Inside, built into that rock-solid foundation, cistern, water storage, and storage rooms. Now here you see a sign that says mikveh, or ritual bath. So this is from a later period, the rebels. They wanted the mikveh. They built the mikveh. I'd like to point out something very interesting here. This was 40-meter high tower. Herod was on the top 2 floors. They discovered no staircase, and it wouldn't have been built out of wood. It would have been a solid staircase. There is none. The archaeologists surmise that this rectangle over here was where the elevator was. The Roman technology could lift 550-ton stones. They could lift a little cage for the king to get up to his penthouse. But since there's no physical evidence of the elevator, no mechanism and nothing, then archaeologists are prevented from stating it factually. But it's believed to be the elevator shaft right here. Let's take a walk into the synagogue. So, like the synagogue at Masada, this synagogue too was not originally built as a synagogue. This was built as Herod's triclinium, Roman for 3 reclining sofas. And so here's the entrance we just came in. And if you notice, there are 2 windows flanking the entrance. And on the sides, there are other entrances for the help to bring and clean and do. The original floor is around a meter or half a meter below this floor, and it was beautiful tile. This style called opus sectile. And this was beautiful columns. When the rebels came here, it was perhaps already destroyed, and they took the columns from the peristyle courtyard that we just saw, and they erected these and built a roof that these would support, and they built the benches that go around the 3 sides. That's very classic, just like in Masada and in many Galilean 3rd, 4th century synagogues, even later, the benches that go around. See, but today when we build a synagogue, we always want to have the prayer facing Jerusalem. And so this wasn't facing Jerusalem. They didn't really have that concept as we know it today. So it's more of a Beit Knesset, as in meeting place, congregating place, planning the rebellion from here, planning the strategy of fighting the Romans from here, and strategize. They did. So the strategy was to build tunnels and have escape and attack tunnels hidden from view of the Romans. And we'll see evidence of their tunneling and then of the secret they kept it from the Romans. We'll see how they did that. So let's visit one more. Well, I'll show you where the chapel is and the hot Roman bath, because there's something special there. You see, the entryway is to the chapel, and that entryway, they could go into and around. They'll be facing east, like most churches. Here you can see the entrance over here, and the signage over here. So here we see the Byzantine 4th century monastery, had a chapel, and with the apse facing east to the big tower. So we're approaching the Roman bath. The Roman bath is a cultural institute. So this is the hot room of the Roman bath. If you're familiar at Masada, many of you might have been, there's an arch with a bathtub. The bathtub had fresh water flowing into it from a copper pipe. And this floor was built on columns. And through the opening to the hypocaust, an oven with a bellows, they would heat the space underneath the floor and heat up the floor. You could take water from the bathtub, splash it on the floor, and the steam would rise, and that was the schwitz, the sweat inducing hot bath. Watch your head. This is the tepidarium, tepid, medium room. You would come from the hot, cool down a little bit, and then go into the cold. The cold was really cold water pool you would dip in. It's always a small room because it's cold water and you just dip in as a final act, like seal the skin. But this tepidarium is really unique. This roof, a domed roof with an oculus oculus is an eye opening, was found intact, as is. Now, over the course of time, some work has been done to prevent it from collapsing. But when it was found standing. And that's unique in archaeology, to find a 2,000-year-old dome with an eye in it standing. This is not the floor level. It would be another meter down. And you can see here that there are fresco paintings. And it would have been all the way up. And they left this filled so that one day, when they do excavate some more, they'll be able to preserve what is exposed. Do you see the entryway where we came in? To the left of it, the stone wall has stucco. So anywhere Herod had stone, he didn't leave it exposed. He stuccoed it. And so here's a few remaining pieces of the stucco from Herod. And as we climb, look at the circular corridor walls, and you'll see at places where they have collapsed from earthquakes and yet remain standing. That's a testament to Herod's builders. Last thing I wanted to point to you from while we're walking up is the heat escape system from the hot room. Under the floor, in the subfloor where the heating was, the steam had to escape. And here we can see 4 pipes, 4 chimneys from where the steam would escape out of the hot room. Look at the circular corridor walls. The exterior were retaining walls, and the interior were also. And you'll see something fascinating. I showed you in the model, there were 5 floors. Look at these openings in the wall. They had openings from the exterior to the interior. If you see the little openings, these went through the corridor, and it would allow light in and air, fresh air and light in the lower floors that were covered and as if, cut off from the light of day and from the air. So they had all these windows from one side of the corridor to the other. As you come up, we're standing right over the corridor, but it's filled here. If you look to this side and to that side, you'll see the 2 concentric walls that form the corridor. with 5 floors above ground, 2 underground. From here to here, and you can see the windows, and you can see in certain places where the walls collapsed or sunk a little bit, but did not collapse. They were built so extraordinarily well, so solid, that even the earthquakes didn't destroy them. There you can see the result of an earthquake where the corridor stones sank a little bit, but didn't collapse, a testament to the builders of Herod. Some of the stucco remaining, wherever he had exposed walls, even in the corridor, stone gets covered with stucco. And there you have another piece. As you look around, you'll see various places the stucco remains on the wall. So here we have another model with the Eastern Tower, where they have recently added a observation point so we can go up there today and look around 360 degrees. If you come close, you can see inside the peristyle courtyard garden, and that's open to the sky. And all of the floor here where we saw the triclinium, synagogue, Byzantine chapel, and the hot bath have a roof over it. So there's another floor on top of it. And that's why they needed these openings in the corridor walls to bring in light and air. Here you have the stairway, and you see the conical shape that was formed after the palace went out of use. They no longer, that's when they filled in the stairway. Till Herod died, they retained access, but they built the arch buttressing and retaining walls to protect the stairs going in. After Herod dies, they fill that in too. So let's go to the tower and take in the view. See the rolling stones still on top. Look, as we're walking and we're taking in the view, notice how it changes from the built-up villages to the less built-up villages and to the desert. So there's a concept in Hebrew called the edge of the desert, the Sfar Hamidbar. And this is a mobile delineation according to the specific amount of rainfall each winter. The grain can grow more or less. If there's enough rainfall, the grain can be harvested, and that's great. If there's not enough rainfall, then it's gathered for the animal feed, and then the animals can come and graze here, which is what King David, as a young shepherd boy in Bethlehem, right behind you, King David from Bethlehem, he roamed with his flocks in this area. When he was here, the Herodian mountain didn't look like it looks now. Only 1,000 years later, when Herod becomes king, does it turn into a shape that's immediately recognizable from anywhere along the mountain range. And this is the Judean Desert. The Judean Desert drops down from the ridge that's today road number 60 from Jerusalem to Hebron, the way of the patriarchs in biblical times, where Abraham, Isaac, Jacob wandered on the mountain road, on the ridge. The Judean Desert goes from 1,000 meters above sea level here 650 meters above sea level, and it steps, the mountains step down to the lowest point on Earth. There in the haze now is the Dead Sea at 437 meters below sea level. Here's a perfect spot to see the retaining wall collapsing from earthquake. Is a good spot to view a lot of the retaining wall. There's a collapse, here's a collapse. There we see in the wall, and here we see in the wall, there, and here's a nice one. You can easily, under the bathroom, right under the bathroom. So we're going to go through another cool part of this tour where literally it's cooler. We're going through the belly of the mountain where the water cisterns are and where the caves, that the tunnels that the rebels built in two periods, the Great Revolt from 66 to 70 and the Bar Kokhba Revolt from 132 to 135, we have different tunnels that they all dug. We'll go see. Watch your heads going down. We're going to scratch our heads here. Stop where you are and take a look at the sign.
Water shaft.
Look up. Look up. Up, up, up. That's the water shaft that we saw when we entered the palace under a grill. So we're entering the upper cistern. And they would raise the water up from that opening, that water shaft. And we come on down and I'll show you the thick hydraulic plaster. You're coming down into the upper cistern that they could draw water into the palace from that water shaft. Here you can see the thick hydraulic plaster that prevented the water from seeping out through the porous, fill. This is artificial. You can see a lot of it is artificial. Some of it has original stone, but it's porous and the water would percolate through. So you can see all this is hydraulic plaster on both sides here. So we're going to start descending back down to where the Roman theater, Herod's 350-seat theater is. So here it says, the remains of a tunnel from the time of the Great Revolt. Now, what's the difference between a tunnel from the time of the Great Revolt and a tunnel from the time of the Bar Kokhba Revolt? They probably found coin or weapons that are specifically from those eras. And that's how they can put up a sign saying that they know this is from the Great Revolt. this seating area is nothing ancient. It's completely modern for lecturing. But once again, we have a sign, and it says, entrance to the eastern tunnel from the Bar Kokhba Revolt. And so once again, a tunnel is a tunnel. They probably found evidence from Bar Kokhba era, coin or weapon. Come over here to the edge, and we'll see something interesting. Okay. What the sign says is that here we have the northern section of this cistern that is excavated, and it shows the original level. And over here, there's stairs that go down. You can draw water out. You can pour it in from the entrance up on top. And it is excavated down to its bottom. And if you look on the walls, you can see the water level dropping. When the Romans are besieging Herodium, they destroy the aqueduct that brought fresh water here from southern Bethlehem, Artas. And so they had to rely on the rain runoff to fill the upper cistern. This emptied out, and you can see the black lines of the water level dropping. And what's the mystery here? Where you are standing, there's fill for around 5 meters high. And over here, it goes all the way down. While excavating all this earth out, the archaeologists, they realized that this is not regular rubble from destruction, conquest, war. They said this is, fine, powdery earth fill. And then they realized that when the rebels were digging tunnels, they wanted to keep their work secret from the Romans. And so, just like commando scuba diver will have air that doesn't leak signs up to the surface, they hid what they were doing from the Romans by bringing the excavated earth to the cisterns that fell out of use because there was no more fresh water supply from Artas. And so here they excavated. At this point where I'm standing, they stopped excavating. And so back where you are, you're on 5 meters of fill from the rebels hiding what they're doing and filling up the cisterns with earth. Look at the black lines on the walls. That represents the water level dropping down. Look up and see where the hydraulic plaster ends up at the tippity top. And all of this was filled like this was filled, much higher than you're standing also. So this was utilized to the max to fill with earth, to hide from the Romans what they were doing here. An interesting anecdote from the excavation of this cistern. Years before, Ehud Netzer found the location of the tomb right outside here. Years before, when they excavated this part of this cistern, Ehud Netzer found a beautiful piece of red stone rosette from the sarcophag of Herod, but could not imagine that he was sitting directly beneath the tomb, the mausoleum. And so it was just a curiosity that here they found a piece of red stone with a rosette, a little fragment of it. Years later, when the location came to be unearthed, and they realized that they had found this missing part of the sarcophag right here, they realized that the proximity was no mistake. It was destroyed and thrown in with the rubble. This is another cistern, parallel cistern to the one we just visited. Look here. See, this is the upper cistern that gathered the rainfall from on top of the mountain, the runoff water, the one where the opening water shaft is. We went through there. And then we first went to here, the northern half, that was excavated. And then we went through this little stair to this. You are here. We're here right now. You see how close we are to the tomb. And no more air conditioning for us. That was nice and cool in the belly of the mountain. Now we go back out into the hot weather.